I go for a fusion till enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the conditions of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for a fusion till enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the conditions of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for a fusion till enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the conditions of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Am I still? Can you hear me? Close it up. Can you hear me? Out. Salt. Can you hear me? Better? Okay. Okay, now continuation from where we left this morning. How many steps done? Of 9 steps?
5.
5 done, wow.
3 done, 5 enumerated.
3 done. 3 done. Okay. At the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, what happened was there was one of the kings who was a great devotee of Buddha Shakyamuni. Of course, the father, King Bimbisara, and the son, King Ajatashatru. Later he became the king, their son, King Ajatashatru. And while the Buddha was presiding over the congregation, King Ajatashatru was there, and the king of the celestial beings, the king of the god and goddesses, Indra, was also there. And then Mughaliana was also there, Arhat Mughaliana was also there. And then they surrounded by the monks, devotees over there. So then in the presence there was also the Aryavajapani. Aryavajapani, the Bodhisattva. In the Sutra system he's considered as Bodhisattva. In the Tantra system he is taken as Buddha. The Bodhisattva of power, Aryavajapani. And he was also there in the group. And Aryavajapani Vajra, meaning the Vajra which we use. One is the holder, holding. The one who holds the Vajra. He's also always holding a Vajra in his hand, like this, holding Vajra in his hand like this. And the king Ajatashatru, he was known for his physical might, considered physically very strong. And King Ajatashatru, seeing that Bodhisattva Vajrapani, he was always holding the Vajra in his hand. King Ajatashatru was so curious as to what this Vajra is like, and he wanted to know what this Vajra is like. But he could not ask Arya Vajrapani, the Bodhisattva Vajrapani. So Buddha sensed what was going in King Ajatashatru's mind. And then Buddha asked Arya Vajrapani, keep your Vajra on my table. So the Arya Vajrapani kept the Vajra on the Buddha's table. Then the Buddha invited King Ajatashatru. Now, Your Highness King, please come to I invite you to pick up this Vajra. He came, and then he was so happy that Buddha read my mind, and now I have the privilege to see what this Vajra is like. So he went there, then he grabbed the Vajra and he just take a very liking, and he was trying to pick it up. He could not pick it up. And he was trying to move it. He could not move it. He tried his best. He could not move it. And he was known for his physical might. And he had this air that physically I'm the mightiest person on this earth. He could not even move the Vajra. So then he hinted Indra, the king of the gods and goddesses. Indra, the Indra came, because Indra used to use the Vajra. Indra, the king of the gods and goddesses, he used to use the Vajra to sometimes to demolish the opponent's powers. So Indra came, okay, this is my day-to-day work. So he hold it, and then he tried to just pick it up. He could not. Again, he could not move it. Then so he gave up, and then he passed it to Arahat Mughaliana. Arahat Mughaliana, he was an Arahat. Arahat means somebody who is already freed from samsara. And on top of that, usually when the Buddha is depicted, on the two sides you see the two Arahats there. The right side, Arahat Shariputra, and the left side, Arahat Mughaliana. So these two are seen as the very important disciples of the Buddha. Shariputra, known as the most intelligent, the one with the greatest, the intelligent, the faculty of the intelligence. And Mughaliana, respected for the one with the greatest miracle power amongst the Buddha's followers. So Mughaliana, known for his miracle power, he just entered the center samadhi. Then when he grabbed the Vajra, he could not move it. He again went into samadhi, deeper into samadhi, and again would grab it. He could not move it. Then Mughaliana gave up. Then he turned towards the Buddha, and then he cried. Mughaliana cried, saying that, now what happened to my miracle power? My miracle power just disappeared. The Buddha said, no, your miracle power did not disappear. Your miracle power cannot lift this Vajra. For somebody to lift this Vajra, that person must have a tremendous power of the Bodhicittas. Without this, nobody can lift this Vajra. Then the Buddha invited Arya Vajrapani to pick this up. Then Arya Vajrapani, with his thumb and the first finger, the forefinger and the thumb, with this he just picked this up and threw the Vajra in the air and grabbed it back. Then the king Ajatashatru, he was so fascinated to see that. It's amazing. I thought that I'm the mightiest person on this earth, but there's here Vajrapani, which I could not even move. He just played with it like a small toy. And then King Ajatashatru, he turned towards the Buddha with folded hands and asked, what made Vajrapani so physically strong? What made him so strong? Then the Buddha enumerated, the Buddha said that this is possible only if somebody practiced Bodhicitta for many lifetimes. Without which, this Vajra, one would not get the powerful enough to lift this Vajra. So then King Ajatashatru, he asked the Buddha as to what kind of practice to be done. So it's mainly about the Bodhicitta practice, and then give a list of 10 practices. It's all about how to be kind towards sick people, how to be kind towards your parents, and how to be kind towards the needy people, and how to assume and how to assume humility and such practices. Okay, a list of 10 practices was given. So what I'm saying here is that that the practice of Bodhicitta, this is so important, so precious, and this is one part of the story. So with this, that people who actually practice Bodhicitta, after learning all these things, in the first place, learning these practices is less. And after learning this, actually practicing these steps, it's not so common. It's not so common. It's just very unfortunate. So whereas what I'm saying is that all of us, including myself, we have to try our best to practice the steps. For example, the practice of Tonglen is step number 4 and 5. These are very popular in the Tibetan community. Particularly in the Tibetan Buddhist community, this practice of Tonglen is very popular. At the same time, the emphasis is not really on the first 3 steps and the following step number 6, 7, 8, 9. So that part is missing. Only the focus on the Tonglen, step number 4 and 5. So ideally speaking, of course, to do a practice is much better. Tonglen practice is so beautiful practice, but it is advisable that the early steps should not be missed. First 3 steps should not be missed. And then the following steps, 6, 7, 8, 9, the following 4 steps should not be missed. If you miss those steps, then the practice of Tonglen will become like a burden for us. Burden. And oftentimes people who do this practice, it can turn out into burnout cases. Burnout, meaning that Tonglen practices, for example, okay, let's say you're going through a very low phase of your life, and then you meet a teacher. Oh, you have to do Tonglen practice. You are feeling so low. And Tonglen practice is to take more suffering from others, then you feel even more low. And particularly if you put them to practice, practically try to do something to help others who are poor, trying to take the suffering of yourself, it can quite drain us and exhaust us and take us throw us into the burnout cases. Okay, this is, so to make sure that it does not happen like this, we have to include the other practices as well. This is so important. One time, there was one group, South India. They invited me to give a talk, a series of talk on Buddhist psychology. And then one of the students who requested their teacher, who requested their director to invite me to give a talk on Buddhist psychology, she came to pick me up at the airport. Then on the way in the car, she was asking lots of questions about Tonglen and so forth. So I told her that, okay, Tonglen is good practice, but you must do that not in isolation. It must be done in the conjunction with the other steps. Otherwise, it can lead you to burnout cases. And she said that that's very true.
this practice was what was suggested to her by some teachers, and she practiced it. And at one point, she felt she just felt like giving up the practice because it's so overwhelming. Whereas if you include the other steps, it's never overwhelming. It's never overwhelming. For example, tell me, say there are the two patients, two young patients, and the one patient is looked after by a nurse who's unrelated to the patient, and the other patient is looked after by the mother. Who do you think will be burned out more easily? The mother or the nurse or the mother? Okay, this Trashila has the direct experience. He's working in that capacity, right? So, if you ask Trashila about this, Trashila is a wonderful example for all of us. We don't know what he's doing and his works. So everybody is seeing his as an example, as a very good example. And of course we have the anima also there, same work, nation. Yeah. So that we see that you can ask two of them. You can ask two of them, and then you will see that when the feeling of intense love is not there, you can easily feel burnout. When you feel if somebody is to take care of the patient, the way the mother is doing, the person will easily feel burnout. If the nurse who is unrelated to the patient, if the nurse is to invest the same amount of energy, the way the mother is investing, if you see that, this nurse will burn out so fast. Do you agree? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Can easily feel burnout. Okay. Whereas the mother can last longer. You won't believe. Just recently, there was a boy who met in a severe accident, motorbike accident, and the boy was in the hospital, was in coma for about, I think, 15 or 16 days. And the mother, of course the mother cannot go into the ICU, what is that? Intensive care unit. Because and the mother, in the first place, mother has already become like hysterical. So they lost somewhat of sanity, right? And the mother was staying in the lobby of the hospital for all those days, not even going out to the guest house. Just staying the whole day, night. And the people, some who's unrelated, if you say that, okay, you stay there day and night for like 15 days, and I'll pay you huge amount of salary, you will feel burnout. You cannot really bear that. Whereas a mother can bear it. And others insisted the mother, don't do like this. Why should you spoil your health? You must go to rest properly. And if you have a guest house there. No, she's not ready at all. Okay, so what I'm saying is that if you don't incorporate the other practices, other steps, like the first 3 steps or the later 4 steps, if you do not incorporate these steps, then just step 4 and 5, dominant practice, can potentially make you to go into burnout cases. It can be quite risky. Okay. For that matter, the other steps are so important. Finally, we are operating on the basis of how do we operate in this universe? All the movements are driven by the self-centered attitude, right? Self-centered attitude. So, until there's an incentive for you, right? If there's no incentive and you are asked to serve the patient, no incentive, no salary, whatever, but just a meager food to survive. And then say, why should I really serve this person? No, you have to do it. And the mother doing the same thing. Who can last longer? The mother can last longer. Okay, so the point is that only if you feel the incentive. Incentive you can feel it in different forms. Some in the form of, say, the immediate material, the benefit. Some in the form of, say, the feeling of love and affection. Some in the form of, okay, say I'm falling apart. So like this, we can feel the incentive in different ways. Where say in the ordinary sense, the greatest of the incentive is the genuine feeling of love and affection. Where this genuine feeling of love and affection is there, then the incentive, the energy to work is very intense, very strong. So the other steps will help us to tell us that there's a tremendous benefit. You cherish yourself, it brings the harms. Cherish others, you have the benefit. You're getting it? Cherish others, you have the benefit. Because you have benefit, you have reflected a lot on step 1 and 2. No, 2 and 3. Step 2, reflect on the demerits of cherishing oneself. Step 3, reflect on the merits of cherishing others. You worked on these two so much to the extent that you feel the mere thought of self-centered attitude, you become angry towards it. The mere thought of cherishing others, you feel happy about it. Okay, this is extremely important. When that happens, then when you go to step 4 and 5, it becomes very easy. It's not really like a burden. It's like, incentive for you. The fact that you are doing, taking suffering of others, giving happiness to others, this is actually I'm doing for myself, not for others. So that way, the practice will become very successful. Now you may be wondering, why with step 2 and 3, they are good enough. Why do you have to include step number 4 and 5? Finally, it is to increase your compassion, it is to decrease your self-centered attitude. Already done. So step number 2 and 3 is more like theory. Step number 4 and 5 is more like practice. So theory and practice must go hand in hand. Okay. So now the step number 4. What is step number 4? Taking the suffering for others with emphasis on love and kindness. No? On compassion. Because we have to distinguish between compassion and loving kindness. Both fall under the category of love and affection. Love and affection, within that, broadly speaking, there are two categories. One, love and affection. Say you love your mother so much. That is the broad category. So the person to whom you love so much, when you see that person in the light of suffering, then this love that you have, that will manifest in the form of compassion. May you be free from suffering. So this love manifests in the form of compassion, wanting to free the other person from suffering. Whereas the same love and affection, with this, the person to whom you love, when you see the person as deprived of happiness, then this love and affection manifests in the form of loving kindness. What is loving kindness? May you have happiness. So when you look at when you look at from the angle of happiness, the object, that the person to whom you love, the being to whom you love, wishing that person to be happy, the mental state, your love and affection manifests in the form, is referred to as loving kindness. Whereas the same love and affection, wishing the other person to be freed of suffering. When you see the suffering side, wanting the person to be free from suffering, that is known as compassion. Okay, this is how. So the first practice, step number 4, is taking the suffering of others. So the emphasis must be on compassion. Taking the suffering of others, the practice of taking the suffering of others with the emphasis on compassion. Okay, so how we do about that? The great Tibetan masters, they talk about what is known as this practice of Tonglen. in conjunction with the breath, right, with your respiration. As you breathe in, you take the suffering of others. And the manner in which you take the suffering, there are so many versions. People can elaborate at great length. People can elaborate, and what we suggest is we should be very realistic. If you are to really elaborate it, then you can make just this practice long, then taking the suffering of others. You can just make it a whole one-day practice. Don't make it too bulky. Make it something, something doable. Don't make it too bulky. Make it something doable. Like maybe, in your case, practice speaking with your job, with your household responsibilities, and so forth. Make it like, okay, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, like this. Make it something more doable and practical. Be very realistic. Okay, so there, what you do is that you can do it in all different forms as you like. Finally, the idea is to take the suffering of others. Take the suffering of others with emphasis on compassion. With tremendous love inside, you feel the love towards other sentient beings, knowing that I get the maximum benefit from cherishing others. My self-centered attitude is one which destroys me. I should not cherish myself, I should cherish others. With this tremendous feeling, then how I should cherish others is by doing things which will make them happy, by removing the suffering, by making them happy, by giving them happiness. How to remove the suffering? Then take the suffering on you. Take the suffering on you. While taking the suffering on you, 2 things are happening. One is that you are freeing others from suffering. Number 2, that your self-centered attitude is being crushed. Because with self-centered attitude, if somebody says that, okay, somebody has to do the Kama Yoga, somebody has to do the extra Kama Yoga, who's going to do this? Okay, yeah, I have to attend the class, I have to take shower, I have to do this, do that, you'll try to skip that, right? Okay, no, I'm not talking about you, generally speaking. So, the point is that we don't want to take responsibility. Whereas when the mother loves the child, tender child, what the child is going to do, the mother will jump. The first person to jump would be the mother and the father, and most likely the mother. Of course, the father also. So this is what they do. And for one time what happened was that this was something which was very striking and very helpful in my personal practice. That was, I must be in my 20s, and in the Muslim monastery, in my group meeting, the whole monastery is divided into some smaller groups. My group, Atsamba Hamzan. So there we were building the rooms for the monks. And then somehow there was one building. After the building, then the whitewashing. And there was one young boy. The 2 parents, they were taking the responsibility of whitewashing the whole building. And the young boy, I think during the holiday or whatever, the young boy came to help the 2 parents. Young boy, somehow, of course, this is our negligence. Somehow, from I think the 3rd floor or 2nd floor, he fell. It is a nightmare for all of us. Then the police case, and for the family, so he was the only son, and the son was somebody who was so loving towards the parents, and everybody, not only the family, not only immediate family, even the neighbors, everybody respected him so much. This boy, young boy, they're just supporting the 2 parents, 2 elderly parents. It's amazing. So this is something which we can learn from this boy, young boy. He's not really the parents do everything for him. He's supporting the parents going there. It's so wonderful. We all have this potential. We all love our parents. We love our parents. Only thing is that we need to see examples. Like this boy, maybe is on the weekend, so he came to help the parents. He must be in college or whatever. So then he fell, and then and you know what? I was the caretaker of that girl. Then whole responsibility fell on me. Okay, so the news spread, and the two parents, the two parents, they were already old, and they left the son to do the wood washing in our place, and two parents, they went to some other place to do wood washing somewhere else before they left out. Then hearing this news, the two parents, they rushed. Very poor villagers, they rushed to the side. Then we already put him in the car to take him to hospital, and he was already unconscious. And the mother in that place, the custom is, okay, when something, for example, if you accidentally hit or touch somebody, then as a gesture of seeking apology, then you touch the other person and take it on yourself. This is a very beautiful gesture in that locality. Then what the mother was doing was, the mother just went there and saw the son lying there. The mother was just taking look, this is what the mother was doing. In her mind, she was taking his suffering on herself. Like this, seeing the sight was so beautiful. This is how much the parents love us. This is how much the parents love us. So, in our capacity, so when we grow a little older, the tendency that we become more self-sufficient, and then we just take for granted the parents' love and affection. Then we don't really express, and then whatever little wrong the parents do, we see there's something so complicated, so big mistake, and then you show anger, you shout. This is all unnecessary. If you really feel the parents' love towards us, this is so beautiful. This is the most beautiful moment of the mind that exists in this universe. Okay, so with this, what the mother was doing was just taking the suffering like this. Okay. So these are the things that we can think of doing. Then, inner practice. So how we take the suffering? Taking the suffering from others, may you be free from suffering. What is this? This is loving kindness or compassion? Compassion. May you have happiness. Compassion, loving kindness. Loving kindness. So, there's the English words, because to be very honest, I'm not expert in English, number one. Number two, I did not really explore, and then there's no standard vocabularies. So how I usually say is that the broad umbrella is the love and affection. Broad umbrella. Under this love and affection can manifest in the form of love and affection, wishing others to be free from suffering. Love and affection, wishing others to have happiness too. This is a concept you have to know. Once you know the concept, then you have to give a label. So in English, I don't know specific label. Compassion, I know. So the first one is known as compassion. Second one, most people translate it as loving kindness. So translate it as loving kindness. That's fine. But as long as you don't miss the concept, feeling of love and affection, feeling of closeness, which wants the other person to be freed from suffering, which wants the other person to have happiness too. The first one is referred to as compassion. Second one is referred to as loving kindness. In Tibetan, first one is known as Nyingje. Second one is known as Chamba. So the good thing about the Tibetan language is that it is so well standardized. So well standardized, whereas the Buddhist teachings in English, nobody can standardize this. Nobody can standardize, but still, we can learn Buddhism completely complete Buddhism in English, complete Buddhism in French. This is my confidence. Okay. The one which wishes others to be freed of suffering is known as in Tibetan Nyingje. You want to write it Nying, N, not M. N-Y-I-N-G, Ning, J, J-A-Y, Ning J. N for Nepal. N-Y-I-N-G, Ning, J-A-Y, Ning J. And the fellow love and affection which wishes others to have happiness. This is Champa, J-A-M-P-A, Champa. Okay, so step number 4 is taking the suffering of others. So, on the great Tibetan masters, Kadamba masters, okay. No. So this I have to explain this to you. When I speak about Kadamba masters, there's a complication. You know about this complication, right? Kadamba masters. What is that complication? NKT. New Kadamba tradition. Okay, very complicated. Okay, so the point is that the Kadamba master, you have to know the original Kadamba masters, and now NKT, complicated one. You have to know this. Don't mix up the two things. Simply because in Kalachakra Center we learn about the Kadamba masters. Oh, this is center there, NKT, New Kadamba tradition is wonderful. I'm so lucky, then you end up in problem. Ranya-danya uni-nanying, Ranya-danya uni. Oh, kona. Sanya-danya uni-nanying, Raja-dajar uje, ninje. Sanya-danya uni-nanying, Raja-dajar uje. Okay, so the NKT, stay away. Real Kadamba, stay close. Right? Okay, this is great. They pass the Kadamba masters. What they say is that practice Tonglen in conjunction with the breath. Practice Tonglen in conjunction with the breath. How do you do this? As you breathe in, you take the suffering of others. And how do you take the suffering of others? You can take it in any form you like. So how I do is by classifying the suffering into 3 groups. What are the 3 kinds of suffering? Suffering, suffering change, and pervasive condition suffering, to make it complete. Otherwise, you can take suffering in the form of sickness, then the poverty, and the tension, depression, and so forth you can take. So these, what we see as suffering, this is mostly what? Suffering. So whereas compassion can be very profound if you're able to work with all 3, not just the suffering. Suffering to feel compassion is very easy. When you see somebody, say the manifestly hungry, manifestly cold, hard, or sad, you feel automatically you feel moved, you feel compassionate. That's very easy. So it does not necessarily is a profound compassion. So, whereas you see the suffering change, and then if you're able to feel compassion, that is the profound compassion. And even more profound compassion when you see the suffering of, when you see pervasive conditioned suffering, and still you feel compassion, that is the most profound compassion. Okay, so whereas when you do this practice of Tonglen, you can take the suffering of others. For example, you hear about somebody in hospital, and then there's somebody going through sickness, somebody going through the terminal illness, and then you can take the suffering of others. You can do this exercise, you can practice related to the immediate problem, what the other was going through. That's fine, that's good, there's nothing wrong in it. But don't simply confine yourself to this. Don't simply confine yourself to the suffering. Also be able to extend to this suffering change and pervasive conditioning suffering, all 3. You must be able to extend it to all 3 sufferings. This is very important. Finally, simply because when we see, the poor dog is suffering, the poor cat is suffering, and this person is suffering, the hospital, the patient is suffering, and then you just feel like crying. Okay, this is good. This is very good. Even to feel that is so precious. It doesn't mean, oh, this person must be a bodhisattva. No, it's just a suffering. Feeling, you feel moved. You just moved into tears because of seeing the suffering. That is, it doesn't mean that then we just jump to the conclusion saying that he must be a great bodhisattva, she must be a great bodhisattva. No, not at all. Don't jump to that conclusion, right? Okay, very good. That's very good. Really appreciate it. From deep inside, even to see somebody unknown going through suffering, and then you feel you're moved into tears. Even that is so precious. Even that is so precious. This must be brought to a high level. What's the high level? Say subject-wise, make the love to a sentient beings more intense. Object-wise, see the suffering on a subtler level. Not only suffering, but suffering change. That is a pervasive condition suffering. And then to the cognitive obscurations. Then the cognitive obscurations, which is the subtlest of the limitations of the persons. Okay, so what we can do is that as we breathe in, you breathe in very naturally, and of course you can breathe a little with the, let's say, take a little bit of time, like as you breathe in, okay, this is a sample that I'm giving. What I'm saying is not the only practice. This is a sample. Once you know how to do this, then later on you can extend it to the other ways as well. Okay. As you breathe in, you first take the suffering, like the manifest suffering. For example, the say people in the hospital going through ailments, the people suffering from poverty, and then people going through acute, say the conflicts in the family, and then the accidents. So all the problems, and then if you are able to, if you're even stronger to bear the problems, they bear the pains, and for the people in the hands of the terrorists, the victims in the hands of the terrorists, they don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. They don't know what is going to happen the very next moment. They don't know. They're totally helpless. The very next moment they may die, right? Just imagine those people. So these pains are so acute and immediate. You take these sufferings. And as you take them, you take a deep breath inside. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Sit upright properly. You can do it in two ways. One is, of course, the first one, take the suffering. Next, take the suffering of change. Next, take the pervasive condition suffering. The first one, take the suffering, you can do it in two ways. In general, all sufferings, all the manifest suffering, all suffering that you take is one way. Another way is be specialized. Okay, I know somebody, my friend who is in the hospital, now he's going through terminal illness, so I take this suffering. For the time when somebody's going through a very low phase in their life, going through depression, I take his or her depression on me, and I imagine this person is feeling uplifted. So you can specialize, you can localize the practice with a very specific problem, which you know precisely or what kind of problem the other person is going, then you can take it. Okay, this is what I can do. Ready? Take 3 deep breaths. As you breathe in, imagine that through your left nostril, imagine the sufferings, the manifest suffering, meaning the suffering in the form of very dirty water. And if you don't mind, if you find it's okay, and then the very dirty water with the snakes and the scorpions and so forth, all this suffering for others, manifested in the form of these, and then they enter through your left nostril, and then they go through left nostril with a very gushing dirty water, They go with this snake, scorpion, so forth, going through your left nostril as you breathe in. They go through your left nostril, you inhale through your left nostril, take a deep breath, and then as they go in, imagine that the self-centered attitude is inside you. Self-centered attitude is inside you and your heart. And then the moment they gushed in, they just consume the self-centered attitude. Your self-centered attitude is consumed, like your self-centered attitude in the form of mixed with your heart. Your heart there, mixed with it, and it consumes your self-centered attitude, the heart. It consumes, and then it goes down. Okay. As you do this, you may feel like a little bit of what's the English expression? Say the fear. Very scared. A fear, a jerk of fear. If that happens, it is a very good indication. Because this fear is because it is now challenging your self-centered attitude. The self-centered attitude is challenged. Whereas, if your fear is so acute, if it is overwhelming, if you cannot bear it anymore, then instead of thinking about the snake, scorpion, and so forth, just think of the dirty water gushing through your left nostril. Whereas if it's okay, if it's not a problem, too much problem, then you can think of the snakes and scorpions, so forth also. Okay. And then the manifest suffering. The first we take the manifest suffering. Manifest suffering. They enter in the form of black stool, dirty water, very gushing through your left nostril, and then they go through, and at the heart, they all consumed, eat up the self-centered attitude along with your heart. Just do that, and let they just go down. Okay, 3 times. Ready? As you breathe out, then you feel that, so the self-centered attitude being consumed, and then the dirty water, they run down. Okay, now imagine that the beings are freed of their respective manifest suffering or the suffering. And you feel joy to see that the sentient beings, they are freed of the manifest suffering or the suffering. Okay, now you take the suffering change in the form of a trap. The suffering change in the form of the trap which traps the beings into samsara. Take them and the self-centered attitude within you is consumed 3 times. Ready? Okay, good. Number 3, take the pervasive conditioned suffering in the form of how the beings, as long as the beings are under the sway of the contaminated karmas and afflictions, they are never free from suffering. Number 1, as long as they are under the sway of the self-grasping ignorance, they are never free from suffering. Okay, take this suffering in the form of the pervasive conditioned suffering. You absorb them as you breathe in 3 times. Okay, ready? Okay, good. Now we are done with the step number 4, taking the suffering of others with emphasis on compassion. Very good. Next, what is next? Huh?
Change control happiness.
Dongwa. Dongwa. Dongwa is to give. Dongwa. D-O-N-G-W-A. Dongwa. Dongwa is to give. Okay, now, giving happiness to others with emphasis on loving kindness. Giving happiness to others. Giving is generosity. And generosity, there are 4 kinds of generosity. 4 kinds of generosity. Number 1, generosity of material resources. Number 1, generosity of material resources. Number 1. Number 2, the generosity of love and affection. Generosity of love and affection. Number 3, generosity of protection. Number 3, generosity of protection. Number 4, generosity of dharma. Generosity of material resources. Generosity of number 2, love and affection. Number 3, generosity of protection. Number 4, generosity of dharma. Very good. The 4. Okay. The first, generosity of material resources. Material resources like the financial benefit, then the shelter, the food. Okay, anything of the material resource which in the ordinary sense we talk about the generosity, the generosity of material resources. Obviously, some people who are deprived of food, who are deprived of the house, who are deprived of good clothing, who are deprived of the facilities, education facilities, so forth. So there, as you breathe out, okay, as you breathe out, just breathe out a little with the extended breathing out. As you breathe out, imagine that your material resources, your virtues, your merits, and finally all these material resources, they are the outcome of your generosity, practice of your virtues. So the merits that you've accumulated, virtues that you've accumulated, and the wealth that you have, whatever you have, imagine that you are sending forth through, as you breathe out, in the form of white nectars and the white lights. As you go out, as you breathe out, the white lights and nectars go out, and they spread all over, and then meet with the people who are deprived of the material resources. At the moment these lights and nectars touch with these beings, they manifest in the required materials, like the clothing, the food, the house, and so forth. Whatever they require, they transform this. And particularly if you can think of people who are deprived of material resources, what particular resources they are deprived of? They are lacking. For example, like the house, for example, like say the clothing, the food, and so forth. They transform into these things. You do it 3 times. Okay, ready? Okay, good. And then feel the joy over seeing that now others have the material resources. Earlier, who were deprived of material resources, now they have the material resources. You are very happy, feel joy. Okay, number one. Number two, what is number two? Generosity of love and affection. Okay, oftentimes, when people go through a little bit of, when they go through low phase of their life, including depression, when they go through low phase of their life, in fact, one major factor is they feel that I'm hopeless and nobody's there to help me. This is their thinking. And then when it becomes worse, when it deepens, then it can manifest in the form of depression. I'm helpless and nobody can help me. They want to help me. In some cases, nobody's there to help me. And in some cases, okay, there are people who want to help me, but they're also helpless themselves. They cannot help me. So I'm so helpless. Okay, in which case, in many cases, more than the material resources, people need love and affection. People need love and affection. This is so precious to give love and affection. But of course, skillfulness is required. Skillfulness is required. Yes, Tashiba? No. Really? Really. In fact, what Tashila says is a very important anecdote which actually happened in Tibet. So this I'll share in a little while. This is a very important anecdote. Thank you for reminding me. This is a very important anecdote. Okay, in fact, Tashila has many such anecdotes. If you can sit with him, you can, the one thing while you are here, even after the retreat, you can, concept touch with him. There are many anecdotes, yeah. Okay, this was, okay, I think the Amina must have been hearing all these anecdotes from Tashila. Okay. Now the point is that many people, we may think that they are materially deprived. When you see a gap in material, the wealth, there's a gap, then automatically what happens is that those people who are deprived, they feel that the people who are well off, they will not take care of us. They don't care about us, which means that they don't love us. This is their feeling. Likewise, say the moment you see any gap in any sense, whatever gap in any sense, like the position, power, wealth, or the what do you call it, the physical well-being, success, so forth. Usually, the one who is more humble, they would feel that okay, they are just by themselves. They don't really care about us. They don't really love us. This is what they feel. Okay, so and then because the point is that many of the people who go through low phase, you give love and affection, instantly the person's mind will be uplifted instantly. You don't really have to give, and then of course, in some cases, to express this love and affection, for example, I would like a small gift of the flower, or a small piece of chocolate, anything, any gesture, to symbolize love and affection. Love and affection, that heals. Many of the problems can be solved by giving love and affection. And in many cases, how you give love and affection is when many of the people, they think that nobody listens to them. So you go there and then, how are you? You just say, how are you? The person feels, oh, there's somebody who is, they say, genuinely taking me seriously. And then the person has something to tell. And then you listen, just listen. Be a good listener. That is good enough that the person feels love and affection. If the person doesn't feel love and affection, the person will not listen to you. The person will just dictate you and then will leave. Right? So the moment the person listens to you means that the person feels that you love and you care for that person. So even that is very important. So there are many skills by which to give love and affection. And where some people, okay, let's say, okay, we should be very skilled. Okay, recently, because of many classes given to the house, and some of the participants, they are really worried. And they come to me, they say, okay Sheila, you have to take care of your food, take care of your rest. I said, I'm alright. But no, okay Sheila, you have to take care, you have to eat this, you have to drink this, you have to take this. Why all this is happening? Because we're concerned. Your concern is making me sick. Your concern is making me sick. When I say, I'm sick, if I say, I'm sick, I need this, then you say, oh yes, you need this, I'll give you this, I'll take it, take rest, then I'll be very happy, my healing will take place. Whereas I'm fine. I'm not bothered. And you say, oh, do you eat this? Do you drink this? You have to rest? I'm sure. No, I'm rested. No rest more. Then, okay, which means I have to behave as a sick person. Okay, yes, I'm sick. You have to rest. Yes, I have to take rest. You have to eat this. You have not. Yes, I have to eat. This is what makes me sick. We should be very skilled. We should be very skilled. Simply because you try to do the best, eat this, do this, rest this, does not necessarily mean that the other person feels your love and affection. This can make the situation worse. Where the person many times, what is the reality is one. Then the thought process two. Thought process also the reality. Don't forget it. His health, her health is one. Health plus the thought process, both are realities. If you think just about the health, not about the thought process, you affect the thought process affects the health. Right? Sometimes, okay, this one problem with the modern medicine and modern the therapies. Easily giving labels to the problems. Right? Okay, a boy or a girl does like this, very young boy or girl does like this, or this is obsessive compulsive disorder. The moment the child does like this, oh, this child is, he's suffering from OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Then the child is, yes, I'm suffering from OCD. Okay, now the child does more, right? In the public he does it, right? The person said, what are you doing? No, I'm suffering from OCD, right? Then you do it more and more, it becomes habit. It will get it off. It's all because you give the label. And everybody says that yes, he's suffering from OCD, and the child also thinks that yes, I'm suffering from OCD. Then the person does not look for remedies to overcome this. And then it does like this. And then some people, they mentally behave a little disorderly. They behave a little in odd. And then again the label is given. What? Mentally retarded, mentally something. Some mental disorder. Labels given. And then, in other words, mad. In worst case, mad, right? He's a little mentally disoriented, meaning mad. And then the person also in public sings, in public laughs, something irrelevant laughter, because he's suffering from this ailment. He has a medical certificate. Huh?
Permission.
Yeah, he's a medical certificate. It has permission for him to do it, and he'll do it more. And everybody says, oh, this is exception because he's suffering from his medical certificate. What's this problem? It's a problem, right? This person will never work to get rid of this. This is the problem of the modern healing system, including modern allopathic system. This is a problem. In fact, what happened was that there was one boy in one institute. Boy was very young, and boy was behaving very weird and odd. And then everybody in that institute labeled him as a crazy or mad. And then the boy joined, after completing the course, joined another institution. So there, I told the other boys who were from the early institute that don't ever label him as a crazy or mad. Treat him as a normal boy. I give the instruction to all the boys who knew him so well. And the remaining boys, they did not know him. The remaining boys, they saw that he was behaving a little odd. He was being a little odd. To say that he is a crazy or he is a mad, the people who know him so well, like us, we are not treating him as mad or crazy. Okay, something's no, he must not be. If it's not, then Dorji should be calling him as a mad or crazy. He never told us that he is mad or crazy. Instead, he is treating him as a very normal boy. Okay, so a little odd, something's wrong there. But they did not dare to say that, give the label. They don't dare to give the label. Because who is to give the label? Somebody who knows him so well should be given the label. Like me. I was not given the label. I was treated as a very normal boy. Believe it or not, he completed his about 16 years of studies and then he became a teacher after that. Not only he completely healed, he became a teacher to teach the youngsters. Problem's over. If the label is given, by now he must have been, going through a very difficult time, going through a very difficult phase of his life. Forget about becoming a teacher. Okay, this is the one problem. Okay, why did I say this? Huh? Okay, giving generosity 4 kinds. The second one, the generosity of love and affection. So there, love and affection, this is many times, many problems of other people can be overcome through giving love and affection. Genuine love and affection, skillfully. Sometimes the over love and affection can create problem. Right? For the children. Okay, most of you must have gone through this phase. Children age 13, 14, 15, 16. The parents call you, where are you? Right? Mom, I'm in school. No, come at the right time. Mom, what is this? My mom is so overprotective. Right? And the child doesn't like this. Right? Okay, this is an expression of love. Because the mother loves you so much. Mother doesn't want to see you in problem. So the point is that, okay, what happened to me also? Right? Oh, Geshe, you are sick, you have this, you have eaten this, you have to rest. First I said, okay, I'm okay. I said 2 or 3 times, I'm okay, don't worry. I'm okay, don't worry. And then the person, oh no, this is. Then I told him that, you saying that, no, did you eat this, do you have this? This is making me sick. Nobody can make me sick. How you are treating me now with so much love and affection, that is making me sick. Right? If you don't want me to see me sick, then stop all these things. If I say I'm sick, then come to help me. Till that point, don't worry. Treat me as normal. Don't treat me as abnormal. Right? Okay, what I'm saying, skillfulness is so important. Skillfulness. Including parents. Parents should be very skilled in tackling their children. Okay. So, the giving of love and affection. This is so important, so important. And for the children, particularly for the children to give. Parents have already given us the love and affection. Their job is done. Now, the children already 20 years old, already 30 years old, still expecting love and affection from parents. This is too much. You have already received love and affection from parents. Now it is our job to give a love and affection towards the parents. Particularly when you hit age 20, still don't behave like a small child. It is time to give love and affection towards your parents. It doesn't matter. It's not necessary that you should have so much wealth to give your parents. No, just smile at your parents. Don't use harsh words towards your parents. That is the indication of love and affection. Whether parents, they make a little bit of mistakes, it's fine. We made so much of mistakes when we were young. And the parents, they accepted, forgiven us, accepted us with all the mistakes that we made. They have accepted us with so much love. They defended us when we made the mistakes, and other people come to attack us. The parents, they defended us. And now today, parents make a very one-tenth of a mistake, which you made 10 mistakes, and today the parents make one mistake, you can't bear it, you shout at the parents. This is too much. Right? And I won't say it's your mistake. It's like a societal habit. This we have to overcome. We can overcome. It's not difficult. We can overcome. Okay. So the whole purpose of being here in this retreat is to transcend the ordinary thinking, ordinary people's thinking. How the ordinary people flow. No need to flow with the ordinary people. Right? You can go against the current of the ordinary people's thinking. Ordinary people's thinking will take you nowhere. Take you to no good place. It will only take you to miseries. Just change the course of the ordinary people's current, and you realize that you are a much happier person. And your family is much happier. Okay, this is so important. Number 2 is giving love and affection. What is number 3?
Giving protection.
Giving protection. Okay, giving love and affection, what you do is that as you breathe out, we may not do it now, as you breathe out the white nectars, very soothing lights towards all sentient beings. The mere touch of these, they manifest in the form of these lights, they manifest in the form of Aramajishri, Aravalokiteshvara, Aratara, Buddha, and so forth. And then they listen to the problems of the people, they give love and affection, they say listen to them, they console them, and then they feel that yes, there's someone who is so enlightened, listening to me, there's so enlightened who is taking care of me. Actually it's you. Your man is going out, sent out to make them feel being, taken care of. Okay, this is giving love and affection. Then next is giving protection. Giving protection, particularly protection to the life. Giving protection to the life. And okay, we'll finish this part. Giving protection to the life. Protection to the life. Just see. It depends on how you can tackle it. If you don't find it overly scary, then you can, okay, the milder one would be, okay, as you breathe out nectars, very soothing lights, they touch all the beings, and then you see all the beings who are suffering, for example, say that who are in the hands of the kidnappers, in the hands of the terrorists, and for example, say the poor chickens in the slaughterhouse, the poor animals in the slaughterhouse, and people who are bound to meet with the accidents, people who are otherwise to meet with the burglars and so forth. You send your nectars and light. The mere touch, they will protect these people from the respective problems, the animals from the respective problems, and that their life is reassured that there's no imminent threat to their life. Okay, in general. And then imagine that the animals, they meet with their respective parents, with their respective children, and they feel so happy. Just imagine someone who's about to be executed, and then suddenly said that, okay, now the penalty is exempted. Okay, now you are released. That the person cannot believe her eyes or ears. Meet with the mother, meet with the father, meet with the children. What an intense joy. Okay, this is what we have to visualize. This is what we have to visualize. This is the milder form. And if you want it more, do it more, what do you call it, more intense form, if you can do it, then you can do the more intense form. If you cannot do it, don't worry, do the milder form, that's good enough. Okay, intense form would be like, for example, I remember when once I was in Australia, I was in a hotel. And in the hotel there was something like aquarium. What's the aquarium? Where you keep the fish. Huh? Yes. Same. What I noticed was that in this glass container, in India I've seen many aquariums. They're all very beautiful. They're all very beautiful. That the aquarium size, that the fish inside, they're very tiny, beautiful. They can freely swim around. That is not really like an aquarium, but it's a glass container, the water there, and the fish there, and the crab there, and the crab so huge, the fish also so huge, and the fish and the crab, they do not really have space to flow freely. And I was just wondering, what is this? Because I really did not really see such a thing before. For the first time I was seeing this. And somehow with the sight, it was giving me not really pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling. I was just wondering. Then I started having my food. And the cook came. I asked the cook, what is this? And the cook was confused. What is he asking? I was confused. What is this? The cook was confused what he was asking. Cook did not give the reply in words. He said, for eating. Then after a few minutes, I think the same cook came and then picked up the crab, living crab, and then went into the kitchen. Okay, if you can, giving the protection in this practice, you can visualize. If you can. If you cannot, don't force yourself. It can be quite scary. If you can, then they say, just imagine that this exactly, actually, this is what the cooks were doing. The crab, the limbs will be taken apart and then put alive in the boiling oil. Then you can visualize you being there and tell the cook that please stop this. Tell the cook, please stop this. And the cook, and you imagine, you telling the cook that if you really want to boil somebody there, fry somebody there in this hot boiling oil, throw me. Spare the crab. And imagine that the crab is spared, and the crab is with her mother, parents, children, and so happy. And then you throw into this, the boiling oil. What is your feeling? Extremely scary. And if you feel that very scary, you feel it so scary, and then it's like a jerk, the feeling of a jerk like this. This is actually impacting, or actually affecting the self-centered attitude. This is how we need to work to get into the self-centered attitude. The fact that you feel intense, unease here, like this, which means the self-centered attitude is being affected. So this is how the practice is so effective. Whereas, if it's too intense that you cannot bear it, don't do it. Don't do it at this point. You do the milder forms, and then later on, as your practice becomes more and more intense, then you can do it. Okay, this is about the protection. So protection, this is one example. Then the terrorists. terrorists, say sometimes even these pictures were released. The terrorists about to kill the victim. It's just a matter of few minutes. In few minutes, the victim is going to be killed. Imagine that you go there, and they tell the terrorists, if possible, you can visualize in different forms. One way is to tell the terrorists, convince the terrorists, even the terrorists, why he's behaving this way is out of ignorance. You're able to convince him to remove the ignorance, his thought process change, and then he regrets and he releases the victim, and the victim meets with the parents, the children, they are so happy. The terrorist also regrets, and then terrorist also quits the terrorist acts. One practice. Another practice, you imagine that you talk to a terrorist, if you really have to kill somebody, kill me rather than this person. And let go of this person. And they imagine that the terrorist actually is slitting your throat. Just see, right? And then how do you feel? That feeling of the gasping for, the fresh breath, and this feel, if that comes, such an attitude is being affected. Okay, this is how we practice. This is, okay, and then KFC. Right? How many poor chickens have been killed a day? Right? Okay. So like this, and we think of the practice of giving protection to others. What is next? Giving dharma. Okay, this we'll do tomorrow. Okay, so this, what Tashila was sharing with us, the anecdote, was actually what happened in Tibet. Only. That actually happened in Tibet, which His Holiness the Dalai Lama came to know about, came to hear about from visitors. So what happened was that there was a great teacher. A teacher who had nothing to do with the politics. A great teacher in Tibet. And the common Chinese, whosoever is great, whosoever is prominent, is seen as enemies to the army. So what they did, they were executing all the prominent people. And then at one point, they would execute this great teacher. He had nothing to do with politics, just brought him to the execution site. So he said one thing, okay, give me a few minutes, let me say a prayer. And the Chinese policemen, the soldiers, okay, the head of the soldier, they said okay. And then what prayer he said was that, may all the sufferings of the world, through the blessings of my teacher, may I be able to take all the sufferings of the world, the suffering the world is going through, may I be able to take this on myself today when they are killing me, may I take the suffering with me. All the happiness, all the virtues that I had, may I be able to give this to all the world and make the world a happy world. He said this prayer and then told the soldier, now kill me. Then he was shot. Look, so for the ordinary people like us, under such situation, we can just go into just unconscious state because we cannot bear the undying. But for such a person, so compassionate, so loving, there's no fear there. There's no fear. Instead of fear of losing one's life, he was concerned about the world. He's praying for the world. This is the difference in our thinking. Okay, so there are many such anecdotes. Many such very touching anecdotes are there. When your practice becomes very powerful, then what we are doing in theory actually becomes a reality. Okay, Sean?
Est-ce que vous pouvez me répéter la prière, s'il vous plaît?
Could you please repeat the prayer that the teacher
Okay, this is by the blessings, may I be blessed by my gurus, may I be blessed by my gurus, that I be able to take the suffering of the world on me, all the suffering of the world upon me, and that I be able to give all my virtues and happiness to the world, so that the world is more harmonious and happy. Okay. Okay, so this is something that we have to practice on a daily basis. Okay, we'll continue with this, and then after the conclusion of the steps, then we will do say what how to summarize. Okay, we'll stop here. Dedication, page 284. Page 284. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful genius, defense and also, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave magician summoned about the truth, realize these as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these fruits of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the future, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deed. Join, joy, stand, joy, and May the Supreme Bodhicitta, there is no rest in the lasting growth, and may the riches arisen not diminished but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as ancient music remains, until then may I too remain to this peace of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I fully attain the state of a Guru Buddha, and may I lead all these without exception into the enlightened state. I dedicate the matter thus gathered to first realize the peace in the prayers of all the virtuous Bodhisattvas on 3 times, and to the whole Dharma of teaching and realization. And all life through the force of this marriage, never separated from the focus of mind and vehicle, and acknowledge all the stations of heart, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect with the 2 stages. With the wish to free all things, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate my full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the children, I confess the negativities individually, I rejoice in worship all the beings, I hold questions for the very heart. Upon the union of emptiness and compassion, it was explained by the paternal Buddha Dharma dimension told them. So the lotus soul repents in Gaso, we submit to you that your wishes fulfilled spontaneously. May the operation have given force and gains, complementing the force of humans from non-humans, who heard the merits with perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas, be truly vanquished, prove about the truth of 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separate from perfect gurus, and enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities and stations of the heart, and could attain to the extreme pleasure Dharma. Throughout my future lifetimes, I will always be guided by a judiciary, and be able to uphold the Dharma in general, and the teachings of the dependent virtues in particular, given the course of my life. your frustrations.